welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where we're going to be having a look at the puzzle on the screen, which is by Florian Wortmann. Now, Florian's been on the channel lots of times before, always with super puzzles, and this has got a really cool rule set with symmetrical German whispers lines around the grid. You know, all the killer cages symmetrical. So symmetry's been a big theme this last week on the channel. We've had some wonderful puzzles, and this looks like it's going to be another one. Now, what news do I have for you today? Well, I have to tell you about something I've only just realised. So, a couple of days ago, I recorded a solve of me solving Phistomefel's puzzle, which he's called Slitherlink Take Me Home. And it's a long video, don't get me wrong, it's a long video. And during the solve, I was like, this puzzle has the feel of an April Fool to me. But in my mind, I got it that puzzle had come out about a week ago, and therefore it wouldn't make sense for it to be an April Fool. Anyway, this morning I went back and checked, and indeed, it is an April Fool. So it came out on the 1st of April, and now I understand the quizzicalness that was going on in my brain when I understood what was going on this channel. So I just want to share this with you because it makes me smile. That Phistomefel has effectively pranked the puzzle community, and I'm not going to tell you how he's done that. You're going to have to try the puzzle to do that, to see that, but it is wonderful. Anyway, that solve is at the moment over on Patreon, and I think now I've realised it's an April Fool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to release it on the channel itself, so that will come out on the channel in the next few days. But we're going to let our patrons watch it as bonus content initially, and then release it to the channel so that everybody can see. I think it's the most recherche April Fool in the world, because hardly anyone will understand it, because it's really not very easy to solve the puzzle. But anyway, that was my moment of amusement today. Now, what else do I need to tell you about? I need to tell you about nothing, I don't think. Let's just kick on with the puzzle. I don't think I've got any birthdays to say anything about today. So this is called Whispers All Around, and the rules are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits in cages do not repeat, and sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the gauge. So those cells add up to 9. In fact, that rule about the digits not repeating is quite interesting, because the only cage that applies to is that one. Look, all the rest of the cages wouldn't have needed that rule because they're all in an individual box, and so couldn't have had a repeated digit. So this 15 cage, I've suddenly realised, is breaking the symmetry of the design. I didn't spot that before. Neighbouring digits on a green line have a difference of at least 5. So this is the classic German whispers rule. So that means if this cell is a 2, this cell now has to be 5 apart from 2 or more. So it could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 9. And then obviously this one has to be 5 apart from 9. So that can be 4, 3 or 1. And that's how German whispers work. Let's do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I have no clue, by the way, how hard this is. Do I have an opinion about Florian's puzzles? I would say that they're normally about medium difficulty, which means, I don't know, let's guess 40 minutes. That seems to be medium nowadays. The only thing I'm seeing at the start, by the way, all of these cage totals do not look like they're telling me anything. I'm probably going to be famous last words, but I can see something about this whispers line. And so let's go through the logic of a whispers line. There are two massively important things everybody needs to know about a green line. And the things are that you can never put a 5 on a green line, and that's because if you do, what's the next digit? It's got to be at least 5 away from 5. So if we go downwards, it's got to be 0 or lower, and 0 is not a valid Sudoku digit, neither are negative numbers. If we go higher, it's got to be 10 or higher, and 10 is also not valid. So we can never put a 5 on the line. Now the effect of this is to make the lines oscillate. So as we move along them, that might be easier to look at this one rather than the cross one, but if this was a low digit, so a 1, 2, 3 or 4, what's this digit got to be? Well, because it skips 5, it has to be high. It's got to be 6, 7, 8 or 9. And then this one will be low again. So they have this sort of polarity to them. But that means the central cell of the grid is really interesting here, because every cell adjacent to the central cell on the line has the same polarity, is what that means. And that means that this blue set is either a set 1, 2, 3, 4, or it's a set 6, 7, 8, 9. Which I'm sure, unfortunately, I don't know which of those it is, which is a bit strange. It feels more likely to me that the blue squares are high. Sorry, are low. And the reason for that is, if these blue squares are high, I have to put 2 low digits in here and a low digit here. So there would be, well, I could have 5 in there, but I'm going to have 2 low digits and a 5 there. And look, that's going to be a lot of real estate in row 5 there that has to be filled with fairly low digits. Let's just think about that from a mathematical perspective. We've got 16 in those cells. We could have a 5, that's 21. And we could have a 4 and a 3 for 28. And that would be the only way that could work, because 28 is the minimum sum for 7 cells with different numbers. So we'd have to have an 8, 9 pair at the end of the row. That's close enough that I'm almost tempted to... Is there some reason that that's not going to work? I'm not sure. I'm suspicious about that. Let's have a look at whether we can... Like this digit perhaps might be interesting. Yeah, okay. I can tell you this digit is not high. Because if it was a 6, the next digit on the German whisper would have to be 5 away from 6 and be a 1. And now the 9 cage is impossible, because if you put a 6 in a 9 cage, it has to be accompanied by a 1-2 pair. That's the only way it will work. So this is a low digit. Now I haven't really established colours yet. Let's do different. We'll do yellow and purple until we can work out, and we will revert to orange and blue after we figured out what's the right, which is which. So this is low, and that's not very helpful. So this is high, this is low. Ooh. Okay. Oh dear. Right. Okay. This one has this one works very similar to the whispers line coming into the 9 cage. If this is a high digit, the only high digit it could be is a 6. Obviously, it can't be a 7 because you can't put 0 here. But if it's a 7, you have to put the 1. You have to put 2 1s on the line. In fact, so it's utterly broken. So this has to be low, which means we're saying yellow is low, which means these two are both high. Now, if that's low, no, that doesn't have to be necessarily low, because that could be a 6 if this is a 1. Okay, that one. So that can, surely this one can be high. If that's 8, you'd get 1 here and a 2, 3 pair. Yes, that can be high. Okay, so that one I think is less useful. So maybe we check. I don't know. I'm not very keen on checking the 10 and 11 cages, but maybe we have to do that. I mean, is it? I suppose maybe it's hard for this to be low, is it? It can't be a 4 if it's low, because that was going to require 2 9s on the line. If it's a 3, that's also impossible, because this would have to be an 8 9 pair, because they both have to be 5 away, and we need the 8 to go in here. If it's 2, that has to go with 9 here, and that would have to go with 8 7 on the line, and that might work. Bobbins. Okay, that's annoying. So this digit is 2, or it's high. Now if it's high, it can't be 6. That would require double 1. 7 would require a 1-2 pair of 4 here. 7 might be possible. 8 would require a 3 here and a 1-2 pair, again possible. 9 would require a 2 here and a 3-4 pair, which would be possible. So 2, 7, 8 or 9, which is rather disappointing. So that's 2, 9 or 4 or 3, depending on what this is. Okay. This has always got... Oh! Ah! Silly me. Right, that central square is extreme, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it is. Because if this was... We know this is... These are a complete set. So let's imagine these are 6, 7, 8 and 9. Well, that means one of these is a 6 and must be 5 away from a low digit, which will force this to be a 1. Now, if these were 1, 2, 3, 4, one of these is a 4, which would force this to be a 9. So that is a 1 or a 9. Which I suppose, well, actually, maybe that is important, because my 10 cage down here now can't be 1, 9. Ah, that's beautiful. Right, this is really interesting, because that can't be a 4, 6, 10 cage either. Because if it is, we have to put 4 or the 6 in the middle of a German whispers line, and that means we're going to have 2 9s or 2 1s on the ends of the German whispers line. That's very cool. So this is either 2, 8 or 3, 7. Now, can we get rid of something here? If this is 2, 8 or 3, 7... Yeah. Okay. I don't know what this is yet, but it's either 2, 8 or 3, 7. Now, one of the options for the 11 cage is 3, 8, and that's impossible now, because 3, 8 would rule out both versions of 10 that are possible. So this is not 8, and this is not 3. So this is now either 2, 9 or 4, 7. Yeah, so if it's 7, 4, this becomes 8, 2. And if it's 9, 2, this becomes 3, 7. 3, 7. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a shame, actually, because I feel this is quite close to being... This column feels quite close to cracking, doesn't it? At least it does to me. But I can't see quite how it does. Uh, 16, 17 there, if this is a 1. So if these are extreme, these have to be low digits but could include a 5. Probably would need to include a 5, so this would have to be 3, 4. Maybe that's what we've got to do. Maybe it really is quite complicated, this, in terms of ruling out or ruling in something in this central row. Let's just think about this a bit harder. So if this is 1 and this is 6, 7, 8, 9, we've got 2, 3, 4 and 5 into these cells. Now, these two cells actually now have to add up to 7, don't they? Which is really cool regarding this 7 cage. And the reason I say that is that this 7 cage can't be 1, 6 now. So it's either 3, 4 or 2, 5, which means that these two squares are either 2, 5 or 3, 4 to pick up the balance. Now that means if these add up to 7, 14, 15 It's nowhere near. So it actually, this is really clever actually. I love that. That's really beautiful. So this doesn't work, this row, because we can't select freely from these two digits. We can't make them high enough to make those 7 cells add to 28. That's one way of thinking about it, because these two are forced to add up to 7 by having the 1 in the middle. Right. Okay, well, this is huge, because now, well, I say it's huge, but it feels like it's important. That's a 9. These are low digits. So these are high digits. Oh yeah, this is huge, because this 9 is of course disambiguating this. So that's now 7 4. It's the only thing that's left. So this is 2 8. Oh, this is lovely. Okay. So these aren't 8 or 9 or... hang on, what's gone wrong here? Oh, it's because I was like, how's this going to work? But I've just remembered, of course, 5 is also a legitimate digit in here. So that is good, because I was wondering what was going on. So that's 5 6. These are 7 8. And now in this column, we need 1 and 3 into those positions. And now, yeah, this is 7, so it can only have 1 2 on its whisper. So that's the 3, that's the 1. Is that low? That is low. That's low. That's 4. Because we worked out yellow was low because we couldn't put high digit in there. So that's 4, which means that's 9, because it's got to be 5 away from 4. This has freedom of expression. It can be 1 2 or 3. It can't be 4. Okay, and now, so now we can do maths using the secret on this row, can't we? Yes, okay, so what is the secret? Now this is something I only tell my very favourite people, but the secret is that any complete row of a Sudoku, indeed any complete column or any complete box, because of the rules of Sudoku, it must have the digits 1 to 9 in it once each. And if you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So now I've got 16 in those 4 squares, plus 24 there. So that's 40, which means these 2 squares have to add up. So they're either a 2 3 pair or a 1 4 pair. So that's not 4, so that's not 1. We worked out that was low, didn't we? So that's 1 2 3 or 4. This is right. This is beautiful. Beautiful again. Right, I now know what this is, because I've got this digit here and this digit here in the column. They're both low. So how could this be high? If this is high, because of the polarity of the line, those would both be low. That would be all 4 lows in this column, but we've got a domino at the bottom. Now in a domino, because the polarity needs to switch, one of these digits needs to be low. So that's impossible. So this must in fact be low, which means it's a 1 2 3 or 4, which means we've now got the 1 2 3 4, which means these squares are a 5 6 pair, which now limits this one to being 4, not being 4 or 3. So this is now 1 or 2, and this is now 4 or 3. And surely, no, it's not resolved. It is resolved. That can't be 4 in the middle of a whisper, because that would require double 9 on its ends. So that's 3, that's 6, that's 5, that's 2, that's not 2, that's not 2, that is a 1 at the end, so this must be done. 4 goes at the end. Those 2 squares have to be from 7, 8 and 9. Can't have 6, because that 6 isn't 5 away from 2. This is 3, so this is an 8 9 pair. Again, we've got to be 5 away. Now we've got, okay, so we've got 2 lows, 2 highs, and we're going to have 1 of each at the bottom of the column. Now, where should we look next? We shall have a look at... Yeah, it's quite interesting if that is high. This would... Oh no, this can't be high because of the 1. Oh, this is, again, it's just subtle cleverness. Right, if this is 8, these have to both be low digits, and they'd have to be 3 and 4, because 1 and 2 have gone in the box. But now, obviously, one of these being 4 requires a 9 next to it on the line, not an 8. So that's just impossible. It doesn't work. So this has got to be, that's got to be a 2. That's got to be an 8, which means these have to be a 7-9 pair, because 8 is no longer available, and 6 can't go next to a 2 on a line. Right, so now, so I've got a 3rd high digit in this domino in row 9, which would have to be an 8 or a 6. No, 9 can't go on this line anymore. Is that somehow important? As 9 can't go on the line, 4 can't go on the line, 1 can't go on the line. So there's either a 2 or a 3 or both on the line. I sort of feel like I ought to be able to. Maybe it's the central digit I've got to think about. The central digit here, if it's low, has to be 2. Because if it's 3, we need to put 9 on the line in one of the positions. So this is either 2. If it's a high digit, sorry, if it's a high digit, it's got to be. Oh, yeah, this is done. That's so strange. Right, but so strange, but quite beautiful again from Florian. So let's just. I'm just going to double check this because I'm not totally convinced what I said was accurate. So I'm thinking very specifically about the central digit on this whisper. It's either, if it's low, it has to be 2 or 3. Now, if it was a 3, because these have to both be 5 away, we have to use 8, 9, and 9 can go in neither of those. So this would have to be a 2, which means these two squares now can be a 7, 8 pair, and we'd know the order. So that's one option. Now, if this is high, it sees 7, 9 and 8, so it would have to be a 6, but that breaks because you'd have to put 1 on both ends of its line. So that is 2, that is 8, that's 7. And now, perhaps the idea is to do Sudoku of all things. They have to be 3, 5, 6. Oh. Oh, actually, what about that 9 cage? It hasn't got a 4 in it now, so that's not 2, 3, 4. So it's either 1, 2, 6 or 1, 3, 5. So if it was 1, 3, 5, if this was 1, 3, 5, this would not work, would it? Because that would have to be, both of those squares would have to equal 6. So this is 1, 2, 6 now, which means there's no 3 in it, which means this is a 3, 5 pair, it means this is a 6. It means these two squares are now 7, 8 pair. By Sudoku, it means we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 over here. Can't put 5 on the whisper. That tells us the polarity of this whisper, because this is high, so that's high. We're using purples for high. Oh, we could reinstate. No, so I am going to do it because people really prefer orange and blue from a colour blindness perspective. So we're going to have blue as yellow. Blue is the new yellow, and orange is the new purple. There we go. So that becomes blue. This must therefore be low and is 1, 2, 3 or 4. This must be high and is 6, 7, 8 or 9, I think. Oh, but not 6 or 9, because 6 and 9 are up here. So this is 7 or 8, which means this can't be 4. Okay, and now what do we do? I feel like, I bet that's 16 cage, or probably maybe not the 16 cage, but those two cells, they're probably limited. We've got 23 there. 39, so these two squares add up to 6 in order to get the box up to 45. They can't be 2, 4, so that's a 1, 5 pair, and we know the order. 1, 5 goes into the grid. That's no longer a 1. These squares have now got to be 3, 4 and 9, which is quite interesting for that square, which can only be 4 of those options. So this is 4. 4 lives in one of these two cells. 3, no. Oh, okay. 8 down here gives me the 8, 7 at the top, of course. Should have seen that before. So this is now a 4, 7 pair, and that's a 2, 5 pair, and that fixes this as a 6, which gives us a 1, 2 pair in this column, and that probably helps, but can't quite see how. Okay, so let's carry on. Maybe the bottom row. Look, we've got lots of digits. We need 3s, 4s, and 6s. Now, if that's 6, it needs 1 there. So that tells us the polarity of this line, because this has to be low. So now those two are low, which we're using blue for. This becomes orange. This is a 3 or a 4, so it's got to be a big number next to it on the whisper, which is 8 or 9. This has to be a 1, 2 or a 3 by Sudoku, can't be 4. It's almost getting interesting for these squares, isn't it? I mean, even if that's a 3, you need an 8 or a 9 in the 17 cage, so there's a sort of virtual 8-9 pair in those cells. Oh, do we need a 7 in one of those? I would put 7 here, which would be powerful. Not sure. Feels like we're right on the cusp of cracking this, but I still haven't quite done it. 2 is not there, I've just seen. Don't think that matters in that. Well, it may not matter enough. Right, well let's check this box again. 4 has to be in one of those cells, that is true. As does 6 by Sudoku. So this is a 4, 6 pair, which means this is a 3, 5 pair. This is what this 15 cage is going to have to deal with. It's all of these pairs down this column. Somehow this 15 cage is going to work magic on that. Can that be a 1? That would be a 7, 9. 7 here, 9 here. I think it can. Well, so what am I missing here? I must be missing something straightforward. It's probably going to be some Sudoku, isn't it, across these rows somehow. There's probably a pair or a triple that I'm not spotting. What about the 14 cage? I've got a 7 or an 8 in it. So these two squares either add up to 7 or 6. And that is 5, 6, 9. Okay, so if this is a 7, this has to be a 3, 4 pair, and we'd have to put 4 here and 3 here. Now, is that possible? I think it might be. I can't see why not. If this is 8, this has to be adding up to 6, and it has to be a 2, 4 pair because we can't use 1, 5. So this is always a 4 is what we're learning, and therefore this is a 2 or a 3. And is this 4 doing some work? Not quite enough, I don't think. Oh, this 4 is seeing that cell. Silly me. So that's 3, that's 6, that's 4. As usual, Sudoku lets me down. That's no longer 3. 6 is in one of these two squares, which is interesting for this top row because we've locked 6 out of both of those, so that becomes 6. That's got to be 5 away, so that's now 1. That gives me a 1 and a 2 over there, look. And where does 1 go in this box? It's got to either go in the 15 cage or down here, which means that square becomes a 2. So this is now a 3. That's a 3, that's a 5. 5 lives in one of those two squares. And this must be done now. Yeah, that's a 7 because we've got the 4 and the 3 worked out now. So if that's a 7, these two squares have to be 8 and 2, which is resolved. So that's 2, 8. This becomes a 7, 9 pair. The only place for 7 in this box is here. Ooh, yeah, well, it just about works. We've got 9 there, so we need 8 here. And that doesn't seem to clash with the 8 we've got. So that places 9 here, 9 at the top, 5 here. There's a 5 and a 1 here, which is resolved. Which... hopefully this is now all going to do this bottom part of the... No, it doesn't. It stops. These pairs are unresolved. So again, we're going to... This is what this 15 cage is for. I'm convinced of it. Oh, that can't be 1. Because if this is a 1, the maximum size of this is 4. We'd have 5 there. We need 10 here. So that's the trick. We're going to need a 1 here. And now, look, we've got a 3 here by Sudoku. So these are not 3. This has to be big enough that we can put a digit in here that's not double digits numbers. So that's a 4, which gets me the 4 and the 6 at the bottom. Places 6 by Sudoku there, which gives us a 5. 5, 3. 7 here makes this an 8 by arithmetic. 8, 7, 7, 9. 2 here, so 2, 1 at the top. This becomes a 1, that becomes a 3. 2, 5 there. 5, 6 here. 6 goes here, 8 goes here, 8, 9, 9, 7, 7, 4. And I just need a digit in there that looks like it's a 9. And we click tick, and that's how to solve Florian's rather wonderful puzzle. What an interesting series of ideas there. It was just beautiful little arithmetic tricks all the way through, and you could gradually whittle away at the whispers and how they impacted on the cages. I loved that. That was so elegant. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. I will read them with interest. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.